From the News Channel 5 Network, this is Morning Line.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on Morning Line. Nick Barris here on a Tuesday. And listen, I'll tell you, the bottom line right now is we're getting into the holiday season. Of course, we got Thanksgiving behind us. We have, people going to be taking off traveling places through the end of December and into the new year. And a lot of us are going to be driving, all right? And frankly, I'm not going to be one of them. If I can, I'm going to avoid traveling anywhere during the busy holiday rush. But a lot of you are. And this time of year, more than any, I think it's important to talk about highway safety, travel safety, road safety. And we have some new laws that are going to go onto the books. And, we've talked recently, you've probably seen in the news about how the fine for driving and being caught without your seatbelt is going to go up. Some of the statistics, the numbers of fatalities on the roads, when you think about it, have they gone up, down? We're going to get into all of that this morning. And take your phone calls if you have questions about our roads, our interstates, and the safety out there, because we're going to be talking with the director of the Governor's Highway Safety Office. That would be Kendall Poole. Good morning to you, sir.
Nick, great to be with you.
Did I cover some of the bases there? I mean, look, I know you're going to tell me safe driving is a year-round thing, which it is. But the more busy the roads, the more risk involved.
No question about it.
And this is as bad as it gets now. And I do mean bad. The traffic just grates on me, all right? It just does. Now, this last Thanksgiving, any numbers yet in for the state on fatalities for Thanksgiving?
It was a great Thanksgiving holiday. And
even coming back on Sunday when it was super wet and
I think sometimes when the weather is bad,
yeah,
actually it helps us a little bit because people take more caution.
Oh, yeah, still, you got that hydroplaning and all that.
And you and I can talk about this for an hour, but it's really interesting. I've been in this for 10 years. Okay. And when the weather is better, when we have warm weather, when we have dry weather,
summertime, yeah,
that's when we have the most fatalities.
Really?
It's unbelievable.
And you really attribute it to negative, poor weather being something where people are just all of a sudden, well, better be more cautious. Whereas a bright, sunny day, clear road, you think, oh, it's no problem. Maybe you don't pay as close attention.
That's exactly right. And it's amazing to watch the phenomenon.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. When you look at fatalities by month throughout the year, inevitably it's going to be the warmer months. Basically, April through October. Mm-hmm. Those are our high months. August was, and traditionally is, our highest month. So we take greater precautions in those months. But December is an impaired driving emphasis month, so you're going to see us do a lot more booze it and lose it because of the Christmas parties, and we'll talk a little bit about how we're structured, if that's okay, so people will understand exactly who we are and why we do what we do.
That, at the outset, and we'll take some phone calls, after maybe you get a handle on exactly what the office does. But yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely. So there is a highway safety office in every state in the nation plus 6 territories. Okay. So there's 56 highway safety offices. I have counterparts in every other state.
But there's individual states, not federal office.
But each of those states receive federal money. So we jump through hoops to qualify for money with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Gotcha. So we call it NHTSA. You would know it, and the viewers would know it from car commercials where they see a car commercial and it says, this car has a 5-star crash rating. Yeah. NHTSA gives them their crash rating.
Okay.
But for our purposes, they're our funding source. So we jump through hoops to qualify for federal money. So even though we're a state agency, we receive all federal dollars.
Makes sense. Does that mean you primarily focus on the interstate system? Again, which is federal, the interstates that cut through. I'm talking about 40, 65, 24. But, you're also concerned with, are we talking all roadways?
We focus all roads. In that National Highway Traffic Safety.
Yeah, you hear highway.
Yeah, right. And you hear that and you're like, well, they're only concerned about the interstates. That's not the case. That's not the case. Okay. We're allowed to, I guess, only educate and enforce on all of those roads, because if somebody drives out on a side street in a subdivision, that counts against us if there's a crash and a fatality.
Okay. Now, are fatalities up or down?
Fatalities are way down, and we can spend a lot of time talking about that.
This past year?
The current year that we're in and the past year. What you're going to see if you look at the fatality numbers over the last 10 years, and I know I don't want to sound self-serving because I'm in my 10th year, but let's go back 10 years, okay?
That's a good cross-section to look at.
Okay.
Fair enough.
So the year prior to me coming in as director, we had 1,334 fatalities in the state of Tennessee, and we were averaging right at 1,300 fatalities per year. So over the course of the last decade, we've been able to say that we're averaging fewer than 1,000 fatalities in the last 5 years.
And
So
that's
we've
going
seen
down as the
we've
area's
seen a
growing.
33% drop. It's going down. We have more vehicle miles traveled.
Right.
So we actually have, well, I'll tell you this, Nick, we are on pace for our lowest fatality number on roadways since 1962.
Okay.
So that's 53 years. Now, you think about how many cars were on the road in 1962.
Yeah, it's so many more now.
And now we've got 8 to 10 times more cars out there on the road. So safety is a huge deal. You talked about warm weather, cold weather. That's one of the factors that play into it. Gas prices play into it. We have enforcement that plays into it. Safer cars themselves play into it. There's so many different factors, but we are concerned with the behavioral aspect of traffic safety. When you see booze it and lose it, click it or ticket out there,
I was going to
that's
say,
us.
those are the two. Booze it or lose it, click it or ticket are the ones. Now, are those catchphrases that you'll find in other states around the country, or, is that...
Yeah, click it or ticket is one that you'll find in every state across the country.
Okay.
It is. The actual tagline that's used on a national level right now is drive sober, get pulled over.
Okay.
We already had so much invested in booze it and lose it that we chose and were allowed to keep that.
Yeah.
So we continue to use booze it and lose it.
Yeah.
And so everything that you see on impaired driving, which continues to be nearly a third of our traffic fatalities, you're going to see a lot of that.
We had Sheriff Darren Hall from Davidson County on yesterday, and at one point we started talking, you'll recall, about DUIs and how many cases we see that come through, and he has to, book them back there.
Right.
And it was interesting. He talked about, the fact that, the vast majority of the DUIs, again, are not someone that just truly, for the first time, had a little too much at the Christmas party and got nailed. Bad luck for them, good luck that they got them off the road, but it's rare. He said, most of the time when you nail someone for DUI, it's like they've driven drunk 100 times before and gotten away with it.
Absolutely.
And they're at a considerably higher blood alcohol level than just 0.08. I mean, they're going to come in at 0.21 or something crazy like that. Is that true?
It is true, and that's what we call habitual offenders.
Yeah.
And we've worked very strongly with Darren in the past. We talk about.
He does that sober ride every year.
He absolutely. Well, what a lot of people don't know is that we actually help fund a lot of projects for Sheriff Hall because we're primarily a grant awarding agency. Most folks think that all we do is the media, radio, TV, me coming on here with you and educating the public, but it's education combined with enforcement and other programs. So Sheriff Hall came to me about 8 years ago and said, is there a chance for us to be able to work together? And I said, yes, we can do that. They were having a problem at the time with night court. It would back up. Metro officers would be out on the streets doing their DUI overtime enforcement with our dollars. Again, we're a grant awarding agency, so we'll use Metro as an example. Metro gets over $500,000 from the Governor's Highway Safety Office every year for DUI overtime enforcement. So we're primarily a grant awarding agency. So these guys who were out working DUI overtime would get a DUI, and then they'd go sit in night court the rest of the night because they couldn't adjudicate it that quickly.
Right.
So Sheriff Hall had a great idea and worked together with the chief of police at that time. And they came up with a strategy where they would have a mobile booking station. And I don't know if
we've all done stories on that.
Right. So we funded the first mobile booking station here with Sheriff Hall to do that. And what that does is it allows the officers to stay on the street. It maximizes their time where you don't have a DUI and then you go in and sit in night court the rest of the night.
Keep them, because you want them out patrolling the roads.
Well, and we're maximizing the use of our grant money.
Now, you'll give grant money to state counties across. Davidson's a big, I assume you probably give quite a bit of money to Shelby and maybe Knox County, some of the bigger cities, but then even some of the more rural areas?
People would be amazed. 95 counties in the state of Tennessee. We have over 400 grants across the state. We have 200 of those grants that are actually $5,000 grants. They go, if you have a certified law enforcement agency, what we call post-certified, the Peace Officer Standards training. If they're certified, they're eligible to receive grant dollars from us, and they can use that for overtime, for equipment. But we don't just hand out the money and say, hey, go have fun. It's monitored by our office. The majority of the employees in the Governor's Highway Safety Office are what we call program managers.
Right.
And they work with our grantees and our partners like Sheriff Hall here locally, or any law enforcement agency or educational institution, nonprofit across the state, to make sure that they're spending their money wisely and effectively that jives with federal standards that we have to meet with that money.
Gotcha. All right, listen, we talked about the money. We'll talk about more of the programs and, you know, the whole texting issue.
Absolutely.
And how you deal with that. And then what's the most effective way to, you know, connect, especially with the young people? You know, we hear those catchphrases.
Yeah.
Sometimes they become, you know, after a while, so cliche among us. You hear them and, you know, you got to make sure that message sinks in, because they're all good messages. But how do you get to young people? We'll take a break. The number 737-7587. If you want to jump in a question just about the money, how it's being spent, any suggestions you think, your observations when you're out there on the road. We'll take a break and be back with more right after this.